And now it's time for a relationship. And I have the best man for the job, as usual, Reverend Bernie Osei. And today we're asking ourselves whether or not your level of education matters, should it matter, doesn't matter in a relationship. And so, Bernie, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. So this, a lot of the time, you have people, there's situations, I'll give various scenarios, situations where somebody was dating somebody, they knew they were on their way to getting married. The one person, climbs the ladder on the educational, rung. Okay, now I'm at point B instead of point A. And all of a sudden, the person who they were with is not the person anymore. In other situations, two people will get married, and they're not necessarily of the same educational standing, and then they end up having issues. So does education matter? Does your level of education matter in a relationship, in a marriage, anything of that sort? And what are the things that we should be looking out for and thinking about when it comes to that?
All right. Once again, thank you for having me, and a great morning to all our viewers. And yes, I think that putting relationship aside, let's talk about education in general. I think Socrates had said that one of the key things about education is drawing out, what is already in the person. The truth about it is that you can't teach anyone anything except drawing what is already in them to come out. And when that happens, it helps the individual to develop and also have the ability to create solutions to the different challenges or problems that may be there. This is what education provides an individual. So when one is educated, they develop the ability to be able to create, the ability to develop something that becomes beneficial to themselves or to society. These are the things that are paramount when it comes to education. When you then get into relationship, two people are living lives, and this too must be able to have a level of understanding in order to carry their lives on. When one person gets to a level and the other is not, there are usually challenges with the way they see things and how they approach things in life.
Because they're not seeing things through the same lens.
Exactly. You see, your standpoint determines your viewpoint. Where you stand determines how you see things. A typical example, someone who is enlightened, educated, will understand the need for certain things in the children when it comes to parenting. So they need to be able to belong to a certain school, a certain class of people, a certain exposure. The other party, who might not be privy to some levels of education, might not see things in the same light. You want your kids to go out, learn about swimming, learn about this so that they can survive in life. Learn some, ancillary skill, like playing a keyboard, learning petty things. The other party don't see the value in these things.
So you're making our children to do that.
Exactly. But you see, growing up, I've come to realize, I did a bit of marketing, in the same structures. There are people I know who studied marketing and did ACCA, who are today international, and they've thrown those things away.
Of course.
Because the more technical vocational skill that people have developed over the years is what is actually taking care of them today.
And not what they learned in the
classroom per se. All right, so some of these, additional skills we pick up through some of these programs helps the individual to develop. When you have a partner, male or female, that don't have the level of understanding in certain things, a lot of things delay for you, because at the end of the day, instead of pushing yourself to move forward, you're arguing to see who is right before you take a step. And these are some of the challenges you would have. The understanding around, insurance, investments, spending, how to handle money, how to make money, always becomes a challenge. And you mentioned correctly, 1% goes up higher. Some of the things that becomes a challenge, I read a story about a young lady who fell in love with a guy. They went to JHS together. They all grew up. The girl went to the degree program in a university. The guy was very technical and vocational and maintained doing auto jobs. So he's into motoring, auto shops, mechanics, and so on. And he runs a very good high-end, business.
Okay.
Now, the lady, through her education, has met people at a certain level their exposure, their knowledge base, their insight into things that runs, the world is higher. Suddenly, they had a function where they all went with their spouse.
Okay.
So at the table, they were having conversations. No one in any, at any level knew this guy had not been to school or, had not been exposed to a certain level. But you see, conversations can steer and get to a certain level where your input could be drawn in. Sure. But by virtue of your limitations, you might think that people are being, if like, throwing it in your face or being bossy or to some extent. When they came home, he told the lady that, you know what, from today, I don't want to be with your friends anymore. Wow. I don't think you actually should hang out with these people anymore because, but you see, exposure puts you at a certain pedestal. And this is why it's ideal that you should value education. Hey, I'm not saying that if you're courting or dating someone who is not educated, you should drop them and go for someone who's more educated. Of course, those also have their demerits. But the ideal thing is that educated person approach life differently. In fact, they are exposed to more opportunities, to do something. Even if they don't have, the money or the funds, they can turn themselves around because education gives you the opportunity to bring what is in you to actually, manifest.
Okay, Bernie, so let's look at the scenario when, unfortunately, a lot of the time, this is what happens. I mean, if you know the person you're going in for, you can shoot and target, right? Or target and shoot, however you want to look at it. But here's a case, man meets woman or woman meets man, you fall in love. Before you realize that, hey, you know what, I seem to be more exposed, I seem to have more education, we're from two totally different worlds. In that situation, how can one partner pull the other along so that the exposure for the partner who seems to be less exposed at that point can also catch up and they can coexist in a harmonious way?
Thank you. Very good question. And the reason this is so good is going back to maybe my last submission that, we are not saying if you are there and your partner is here, leave it there or walk away. Because if you leave it there, obviously you would have headaches. But there is the need for you to have, first and foremost, the conversation about it. Understand the impact. Paint the picture. Let them see the reality on the ground. The demerits that exist if you decide not to develop yourself. I mean, there are so many elements you can draw into it, financially, social circles, and so on and so forth. Today, there are people in marriages who might not have the education their partners have. So when their partners are going for events and to show up in places, because of that inferiority complex, they have the challenge to want to go out. However, this even gets complicated when the guy or the lady need to go with other people. Then suddenly suspicion sets in. Because you're not there and they're engaging or having conversations with people at the level that they can see things and think, suspicion gets in and you can never have peace in that home. All right, so it's ideal to sit down, have the conversation and set goals. Very ideal. Start from somewhere. Listen, I think it would be appropriate that even if you want to run a business, take a diploma, start somewhere, and set those goals and work yourselves towards it.
So you're working together.
Exactly. Work together on it. Don't impound everything on a lady or the guy and watch them, find their way to swim to shore. Get in there with them and have a bit of empathy. There might be many circumstances why people don't further their education. Sometimes it's finance, life circumstances, or whatever the reason might be. Now you're here with them. It's ideal that we develop together. If not, the gap will keep widening. And as long as that keep widening, we cannot guarantee that marriage will sustain.
So now what about when you're dealing with someone whose inferiority complex is so huge that now they think that, or they tell you, it's becoming a facade. They tell you and they begin to believe that where I am is okay. This is who I am. So take me or leave me. How do you deal with a person like that?
Number one, if you are in a home with someone like that, you will inherit vanity and the wind. Your destiny would break bricks and hit a wall. You see, life is about change, development, advancement. Immediately you find a partner who says, take it or leave it. This is who I am. Chief, if there is a way, you would have to find a way of exit. Do it. I'm a pastor. I'm saying this is very ideal. Maybe I should look into the camera. Because I'm telling you, I have, through counseling, too many people that are dying because of some of these things. Nobody should ever come to the point and say, if you love me, take me the way I am. Yes, I love you. That's what I've accepted you the way you are. It doesn't mean I should maintain you the way you are. The most dangerous person in your life. So
accepting someone the way they are doesn't necessarily mean you're maintaining them the way they are.
I love you. You're uneducated. I mean, I love you. That's why I'm here. But it doesn't mean I must let you remain the same. Because the most dangerous person in your life is the person who leaves you the way you are. If I love you, I want you to be better. If I sleep in a clean bed, I want the same for you. If I get exposed to better things, I want the same for you. If I develop myself, I want the same for you. And that is why we push ourselves to excel together. And my successes must be your successes. Hey, if you're dating someone who tells you, walk away. Chief, don't even blink an eye, because it will be so dangerous for your health and for your peace along the line that you will suffocate. Because every single step you take, the person will calculate it, query it. It can never trust you, because you go in places, you're meeting people. Why are you talking to that person? Why are you smiling to that person too much? Why this? Why that? Because they cannot be able to fathom and comprehend the understanding that part of your development is opening your social circle, because your network is your net worth. The kind of people you have within your circles determine the base to which you have access to resources. Human beings are doors, and it's relationships that opens these doors. And when someone keeps you away from this, they are actually in making you imprisoned.
Wow, that's profound. So if you just joined us, we're on our relationship segment here on Breakfast Daily. I'm here with Reverend Ben Yosedi, and we're talking about whether or not, right, your educational level matters in a relationship. You can use the hashtag Breakfast Daily to communicate with us. If you have any questions for Rev, he's here for a few minutes. You can ask them. Or you can send us a WhatsApp message, 0550-585-832, and use the country code +233 if you're outside of Ghana. Brent, before we continue, there's some messages here. Someone says, love you guys from Nigeria. So that's from Jerry Samuel. He's all the way in Nigeria. A call from North Kaneshi says, this topic is very important. Thanks for discussing this. Now, Christy in Mataheko says, good morning, Apioko, to you and your guest. My husband and I have been married for 2 years. Even the food our children eat is a problem. If I say I want them to have milk, he says they should eat cocoa. If I say I want them to have potatoes, he says he grew up eating yam. How do we move forward? We have twins who are 1.5 years old.
Word. I wish I could speak to them both, because you see, sometimes it's the understanding. Listen, there are some men who believe that this is how my parents developed me. This is how I grew up. So my children must have the same experience. We're not the same. I might taking off your name, but our experiences are certainly different. Today, 24, my mom and I are 42 years apart. She's there, I'm now picking, the exposure she has in her time and what I'm experiencing today is different.
Completely different.
When she visits the home and try to teach my children, advise them on certain things, I scare. One that I have at a home office, and she's in the lounge with my kids playing and talking and advising. My girl is turning 9 soon, and then she's like, hey, I got out, seriously. I said, from today, this should never, because you see, that has been one of the banes of my life. Why? I think I never saw certain things in life and it limited me. You see, it's good to be nice, but niceness is not even a fruit of the Spirit. If you're a Christian, it's ideal to meet people. If Naomi and Ruth never got out into the field, they would never have met Boaz.
True.
If listen, I can go on this tangent for so long, but the ideal thing about it is that what they saw in their generation and what we are saying now is different. So it's ideal that the development of children must be handled in a certain way. When you were drinking cocoa, we didn't have this level of pollution in our time. Today, the kind of ingredients and nutrients we need in our food, in fact, our food is even messed up.
Yeah.
It's so expensive to have organic food.
Yes.
So to even have very good nutrition in our diets,
It's expensive.
It's expensive. So if people need to learn, and some of us need to unlearn to relearn new things. Hey, the fact that you drank cocoa doesn't mean now all your children and their generations must be stuck to cocoa. There are new things now. There are cereals, there are cocoa pops, there are this and that our children are exposed to. Tom Brown, we ate in school, and they gave us gas when we were in. Shout out to all the Merrimam guys out there. I mean, we're eating gas. You could forget school feeding. Those days, the school feeding was a whole new ball game. Today, a lot has migrated. Things have changed, and that is why if the husband.
So what is gas? What is gas?
Oh, is this? I don't know whether it's some peanut butter soup or Charlie. The thing is somewhere.
That's somewhere. What is school food?
I'm telling you, hey, it's a different thing altogether.
Okay, okay. So your point right here, Benny, is let me reiterate that even the things our parents knew are different, and so we shouldn't also allow the way we were raised to inhibit our children.
To underpin what
because it goes on to affect the people they end up in relationships with eventually.
Of course.
Okay. So I'm going to ask a final question on this issue of education and what's not. So say another scenario, you're in a relationship, right? You have a partner who, again, is very okay where they are. They have maybe a first degree or a master's degree. They're okay. Now you say, and especially on the woman's side, as for me, I want to go and do a PhD or I want to do a second master's. And it becomes an issue. How do you handle a situation like that? Especially when there are kids and it becomes a case of who is going to take care of the children if you go, who is going to run the home if you go, kind of thing.
Maybe here.
Or a partner who feels, okay, if you are now going to school, and when will we marry? You know, if you want to put education before our marriage, I'll go and find someone else. How do you handle situations like that?
So there are two things I pick from this. The first one is educating before getting married.
Exactly.
I always say that it takes one day to enact that institution. One day. The preparation towards it might take a bit of time and preparation, but with proper planning, you can actually get married.
Today.
In the next 30 minutes,
yes.
You can drive
before
get it
6 p.m.
You know, and it's done. So, I mean, it's all the facades that comes with it that makes it, too much work. But the thing is actually some 10 minutes of work. Now, so you can actually get that out of the way. I would advise, if you want to get the time to educate, to develop, I mean, do that. Marry before you, because a lot can change along the line. However, the dynamics change when people feel that they need to put themselves on a certain pedestal before they commit.
Okay.
Sometimes, you see, and some of our men must also understand the women. The opportunities that are out there for the men compared to the women are not the same.
True.
When a guy walks around with a degree to get a managerial position, a woman needs to possibly come with a PhD.
Yeah.
And years of experience and exposure and other things to match up.
Right.
Hence, still, even our system is so messed up that they might not even earn the same. All right. So when our women are trying to develop, let's encourage them. Let's support them. Let's make it possible for them to get there. Because what that does, it also exposes them, develops them, and gives them better opportunities. I would encourage my women, my children, my sisters to get the development. More importantly, to be independent, because our families have some crazy people out there. You're gone today, your wife is not well positioned. They come and take over everything that belongs to and they throw the woman and the children away. All right, so let's encourage the development of our women. If they need to go to PhD or there is something after that, let them get it. Be well placed and be very independent, so that even, God forbid, if God calls you home and you are away, at least you can have the peace being there that, I have a good woman who can take care of the children and also the family as I'm gone.
Okay, so we have a message here. So, Anya Albert says, I have the same challenge with my girlfriend telling me I should accept her the way she is, but I'm an exposed guy, so I want her to be exposed as well and advanced too, but it becomes a problem. But with this message, sorry, 1 second. Let me just Okay. But with this message, I think she'll understand the change. Thank you, Citi TV. So, Albert, I'm glad we're able to help you with your girlfriend. I hope she was watching. If she wasn't, go on to Citi TV, take this clip and give it to her so that she can also understand that you only mean well for her, right? So, Reverend Bernie, any last words before we wrap up?
Thank you. So for me, I'll advise, if you are in a relationship, you're married or about to, encourage your partner to develop, male or female. Encourage your partner to develop themselves. Get a higher possible education. It's not just for the degree to get a job, but it's the exposure to understand things better.
And to solve problems
exactly,
around you, right?
Exactly. I mean, I will encourage my children, my daughters, my sisters, my wife, do something, add something else to yourself, because it's not about the paper. And trust me, I've taken on courses I never completed because I couldn't pay the final exam fee. But the knowledge I took from it, it's helping me in turns, right? So develop yourself. Today, there is an opportunity to do so many online programs. You don't have an excuse, even if you say that I don't have the money or the time to get to Gimpa or get somewhere. You have access to do 10 minutes online, 1 hour online, to develop something in yourself. You're the only one to blame if you don't really get there. Okay.
Someone is asking how they can get in touch with you, and they want your social media handles.
Okay. So I think first on WhatsApp, or, you can get me on 0500 200 944. 0500 200 944. Either than that, my social media handles on Facebook, I'm Bernard Oseidia, same as LinkedIn, and also on IG, Instagram, you can find me as Benny Dia, or Benny Dia, all right? And also on Twitter. So look for me, Benny or Bernard Oseidia. You will find me on any of the handles.
Okay, thank you so much, Benny. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
for
enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
And your weekend too.
Thank you, will do. Thanks.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been speaking to Reverend Bernie Oseidia. He's a CX HR performance consultant and coach. And we've been speaking about whether or not your level of education matters in a relationship right here on the relationship segment on Breakfast